Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from News about Desawe Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in and beyond. Also on YouTube at 3FM927. You can share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us. Read out to you and to the rest of the world this evening here on Hot Edition. Parliament yet to be officially notify the Electoral Commission about the death of Akwatia Member of Parliament and Escumi 7 days after his demise. The question to ask is whether Parliament is in breach of the constitutional provision for the period of the notification of the Electoral Commission, specifically about the death of a Member of Parliament by the Clerk of Parliament. Stay with us. We've got details for you. Also, the minority describes government's decision to cancel fuel allocation for political appointees as populist and a PR gimmick. We've got details for you. Stay with us. And Battle Chief Justice Gato Tukono refuses to go down without a fight as she files fresh suit seeking a declaration that Shining Stars, a petitioner in the ongoing hearing against her, does not exist in law. Stay with us. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition Plus. We've got details of what the president has been talking about, especially with the latest decision coming through here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The Bank of Ghana also is indicating and urging the public, especially private sector, to use data from the Bank of Ghana to make CD projections, not predictions from the black market. All these and sports in the next 1 hour. Stay with us. Let's get a summary of the news now. Christabel.
Have declared their intentions to contest the primary ahead of the by-election. They are the constituency chairman, Yao Ado, his second vice chairman, Kwesi Boateng, Mr. Kofi Nyame, lawyer Yao Redu, and the former member of parliament, Amase. The dates for the primary is yet to be set by the regional executives, but reports say these individuals who are party members have decided to come out openly to contest. The by-election has been necessitated due to the demise of the member of parliament, Ernest Yao Kumi. President John Dramani Mahama has made immediate effect cancelled the payment and allocation of fuel allowances to all political appointees as part of his administration's ongoing efforts to reduce public expenditure. The announcement was made on Tuesday, July 15, in an official statement from the presidency signed by the Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwakye Ofosu. According to the release, the directive is aimed at curbing government spending and redirecting funds into key priority sectors. The minority in Parliament has called on the president to immediately lift the ban on the sale of public lands, warning the country may suffer a litany of judgment debts should this embargo continue. President Mahama, after assuming office, ordered the immediate cessation of all activities related to the sale, lease or processing of transactions involving states and public lands. Reading a statement on the floor of Parliament on Monday, Member of Parliament for Subin Kofi Obreyeboa, while acknowledging the good intentions behind the directive, stressed that the halt could affect legitimate landholders and corporate institutions. Also, the government has announced a sweeping directive aimed at tightening regulations in the mining sector, mandating that all machinery used in mining activities must be registered with the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, by August 1st, 2025. And just before we go, Ghanaian evangelist and founder of Heavenway Church, Evangelist Patricia Asiedu, popularly known as Nana Agrada, has suffered another legal blow in the Amasaman High Courts, where it has denied her application for bail following her court appearance today, Monday, July 15, 2025. Agrada, who is currently serving a 15-year prison sentence over multiple charges related to defrauding by false pretense, appeared in court hoping to secure temporary freedom while awaiting the outcome of her appeal. Alfred.
Well, Chris, I will say a bit further on that one, and some 6 minutes after 5 here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Indeed, as you earlier indicated, the High Court in Amasaman has declined the bail application of Patricia Asiedu Esiama, popularly known as Nana Agrada, pending the determination of her appeal. Bernard Kofi Asamoah, a member of Agrada's legal team, confirmed the ruling on Tuesday, 15 July, that's today. Now, he explained that the court refused the bail request and has directed the Circuit Court to furnish all relevant documentation on the appeal. Now, it's also indicated that they wanted a bail pending the appeal, and the court did not grant it. The court has given an order that the Circuit Court finishes the court with all the processes needed for the appeal. They've indicated that they will continue the appeal process. Nagrada was sentenced on July 3, 2025 by the Accra Circuit Court under Judge Evelyn Asamoah to 15 years imprisonment with hard labor on 2 counts of defrauding by false pretenses, alongside a conviction for charlatanic advertisement. Now, the charges stemmed from a televised 2022 money doubling scheme broadcast on her Today TV channel, through which Agrada solicited funds under the promise of doubling them. Her legal team lodged a notice of appeal on 7 July, challenging both the conviction and the sentence. Now, they argue that the trial was marred by unfairness and characterized by judicial bias. In court filings, they contended that the judgment lacked evidentiary basis. The sentencing judge demonstrated partiality, and the 15-year term was harsh and excessive following the High Court's refusal to grant bail pending the appeal. Mr. Asamoah confirmed the team remains fully committed to pursuing all legal remedies available. So if you go on our Facebook page right now, on our YouTube page, at 3FM927, we're showing you videos of what happened in court earlier today after the court's decision earlier today to refuse Nagrada the bail pending the 15, that's the bail appeal pending that 15-year sentence. We would get into more of that if you go on our Facebook page right now and on our YouTube page as well, 3FM927, videos of what happened in court earlier today with Nagrada in the company of the Ghana Prison Service personnel who accompanied her to court today, fully armed, and she was bundled into a waiting pickup vehicle after the court's hearing earlier today, mobbed by some members of the general public, including in the presence at the court today was her husband as well, who attended the court hearing today. And outside of the courtroom, if you go on our Facebook, our YouTube page at 3FM927, the videos of a number of her church members who thronged the court room earlier today. Hundreds of them are waiting her earlier arrival. So that's the information that we have and the decision that has been taken by the courts. Okay, it's one that we'll keep an eye on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Y and beyond. The minority in Parliament, they've described the President, John Dramani Mahama's decision to scrap a few allowances and allocations for all political appointees as a populist move and a PR gimmick. In a statement issued by the Minister of Government Communication, Felix Kwatiofosu, today announced the cancellation of payment and distribution of fuel to all political appointees as part of a wider effort to cut government spending and promote fiscal discipline. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Member of Parliament for the Akwatia North Constituency, Samuel Ewuku, questioned the sincerity of the directive and called for more decisive action if the government is serious. This is what happened in Parliament earlier today.
The president wants to really show that he's committed on this fuel allowance and the cutting down of fuel and scrapping of it. I'm challenging them to close down the fuel depot at the castle, and that's at Jubilee. Because with that, then that means they are no longer going to take the fuel for free. Number two, who is a political appointee? Because the publication said political appointees. Does it include ministers? Does it include CEOs? Does it include presidential staffers? So who are the political appointees? Are you just talking ministers or deputies, or ministers, deputies, CEOs? Again, I need clarification on what is the definition of the fuel allowance. Does it mean fuel for any political appointee? Or are they trying to say that the money that that will be used to pay by these appointees, it will be refunded or they will be made to pay back? There's clarity on that we need. Then again, how much is being spent on these fuel allowances, so that after scrapping, how much savings are we making? So these are very serious questions that we need to ask. Let me ask a very interesting question. If the Minister for Communication drives from here to Ada or to Ningo Pram Pram to do government business, at the end of the day, is he returning the fuel in the fuel that the state bought for that vehicle to, get him to Ada or Ningo Pram Pram and back? Or there will be some way, somehow, there wouldn't be any fuel at all. So clearly, if you ask me, I think there are more questions to be asked with this particular directive. I just see it as populist. It's just public gimmick and a clear case of PR and settings. That's what I would say.
However, government has justified this action, insisting the move is part of a broader scheme to slash expenditure. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Shamima Muslim says a new code of conduct for government officials is expected in furtherance of the President's directive on fuel allowance cancellation. She spoke to Kemene Mano earlier on TV3 News Central, and this is what Shamima had to say on this particular issue.
Beyond the cost, it's also the symbolism of a government that practices what it preaches, and a government that wants to show leadership in action and also congruent to the values that it expects its own citizens to accept. So as we speak, the exact cost is still being computed, and we will make it available to the public as soon as it is ready. As the directive was given today, it would take a few weeks to put the total cost together, because the budgeting year has not ended. Usually you would have your budgetary reports based on your expenses towards the end of the year. So it's mid-year and this directive has come in, so it would take some time to compute how much we as a government have spent so far with regards to allocation, fuel allocations, from January till this point.
I see. So how will this work in terms of its implementation?
So it's effective today. If you went to take your allocation for the week, if you hadn't done it yesterday and you went to take allocation for the week, to the extent that the directive has reached them, the fuel dispensers and their managers, you might not be able to take your allocation as of today.
Are there any exemptions?
So the exemption is that there will still be room for some regulated official travel and assignments. So for those regulated official travel and assignments, there will be room for the state to provide fuel for those particular travels. And as we did with the Code of Conduct for the government officials, there will be a rating framework for the implementation of this program, so that all appointees are aligned with regards to the kinds of travels that will make it to the official list of travels that will require state intervention in terms of fuel allocation. But otherwise, everyday commute to and from work, it's not government that will provide fuel for those ones.
Which brings me to the question of how we are going to differentiate those trips you have just alluded to those official work trips as well. If it's the same vehicle, how are we going to manage that?
They are all best practices. There are estimations that are done based on the work that you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to go. Even with the current system, it was not an unlimited allocation. As far as my office is concerned and my person is concerned, I think 2 months ago is when I started receiving a weekly allocation of fuel. Now, within the week, sometimes depending on the rounds you make, that allocation is exhausted, but you can't go for more until the week. So there is a specific allocation to you depending on which staff level you are in and what you do, and based on the same good guidelines, we should be able to make those determinations in time.
Let's talk about the earlier directive on DSTV subscription. Since its implementation, how has it gone so far? What can you tell us about it?
Right, I don't have information on that, but as you have asked, I'm going to follow up on that. But you should come around, you should visit offices, and you should see for yourself. Generally, many offices, except the exception, do not have DSTV subscriptions at all.
Samima Muslim there. And well, we hit the streets to find out from some Ghanaians what they think about this new directive from the presidency.
This is very good news. So when you look at the income gap between the political elite and the other civil servant, it's yawning. And these people, aside getting all this, they still have fuel. Sometimes they misuse it. So if government can remove that subsidy from them, and they can calculate that and use it to do specific intervention for the country, I think it will be good for us.
It's a good initiative by the government. And then if they have seen that, no, this is what will help the economy to grow up, then we don't have any issue with it. The only issue I have as a Ghanaian is we know this kind of thing that the government will bring an initiative and then they will take the monies, will not see the use of it. That is my problem. So if the monies will be taken and then it will boost the economy level for us to be comfortable in it as citizens, there's no problem with it. I have nothing to say that they shouldn't pass it. It should be a good one for the government and then for the country.
Well, it will help us so that they will use that money to do a different thing, or that will help all of us.
If they are going to do such that it will affect us, people will complain again, then I think maybe it shouldn't. But then if it's something that is not going to make everybody talk about it or something, I think, yeah, it should go on.
Also, some members of the general public there. Let's stay a bit further on this. And Franklin Kojo is founder and president of policy think tank Imani Africa, is joining us on the telephone right now. Mr. Kojo, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I hope you're well too.
I am okay. Good.
Fantastic. Now, first of all, I want to find out from you how this decision by the presidency strikes you to, as it were, scrap the fuel allowances allocated to political appointees, as was communicated earlier today.
Ordinarily, I would say it's a good thing. I think that the president has obviously done what is important. Don't forget that the whole idea of reset is essentially that you offer little for lack of a better term, good tidings, right? And so somehow this has come as no surprise to me at all. If you realize that we had other similar I call it freebies. Similar, concessions no longer good. So, it's a welcome thing.
I see. But then you would also have, and I don't know if you paid attention to the minority in Parliament's position on this. They say is for the optics, essentially, and that if the president wants to really show that he is committed on this fuel allowance and the cutting down of fuel and scrapping of it, they are challenging him to close down the fuel depot at the Jubilee House, because with that, then that means they are no longer going to take the fuel for free.
I don't think it works that way. The most important thing is that this is an intervention that is made, and I think it's in keeping with his research agenda. I doubt that we would want to poo-poo something like that.
But what I just read to you is the minority in Parliament's position on this, and they asked a number of questions, whether this includes ministers, I mean, CEOs, for instance. Does it include presidential staffers? Who are the political appointees? Essentially, some clarity on which category of persons will be affected by this directive, essentially. Is that a good ask from what you said?
Sorry, please repeat that again.
I was asking if this is a good ask in terms of clarity of exactly which category of political appointees will be impacted by this directive? Because that's one of the things that the minority is asking. That does this include ministers, CEOs of state agencies, presidential staffers? Who are the political appointees exactly?
Well, my understanding is that once these are political appointees, they are defined just as that. And I think we should, anyone who is a political appointee, obviously is part of it.
And beyond the optics, as you indicated, that as part of, from what you see, the reset agenda, this is a good indication. But beyond that, what other benefits, as it were, will this directive, as we have heard today, bring to government essentially and the economy, as we are seeing, especially when it comes to cutting down the cost of governance in this country?
I'm not sure about any other recommendations. I think we've already done significantly well when it comes to the number of ministers. I think the president has obviously cut back on defense, which is a good thing. It's helped save, if not almost $1 billion within the 4-year period. At least it saved quite a significant amount, millions per time. So I think we are on course. I think the other thing we need to do, seriously take a good look at is the issue of procurement. And I think that's where the whole corruption and all the back deals and side deals actually sit. And I think we should be able to do something about that.
The TUC, and it's going to be my final one, the TUC is asking for government to legislate some of these interventions which are meant to cut down on the cost of governance and the expenditure associated with governance, so that, I mean, the decision by this administration, the president, to cut down on the usage of DSTV as the paid TV at the Jubilee House, abolish it, limit the number of ministers to 60, and then contribution to the Mahama Care, and then now this fuel allowance as well that has been scrapped. The TUC wants some legislation so that this would live beyond President John Dramani Mahama. Is it one that you support?
Well, you mean in terms of the fuel allowance? Well, maybe we should have a conversation because, another government will not want to do that anyway. So I think we should have a conversation about the optimal size of government for a country like Ghana. And all of the things, all of these conversations will be part of it. But if we pick and choose, I don't think we'll do ourselves any good. Because if the government comes and says, look, I'm not going to give fuel allowance, but rather I'll give fuel allowance and then reduce salaries, what would you say? So we must have a proper conversation about what exactly do we need our public sector to look like, and how much should we be paying for the productivity we are getting. That's the first instance of having a rational conversation about spending efficiency. In this case, which we would exact productivity. Otherwise, we'll be yielding to some of these rightly so-called populist, should I call them, peanuts. And again, that's not the way to actually organize a country. So I may have called for legislation. Naturally, I'll say, okay, legislative, but frankly speaking, upon reflection, really, Alfred, if another person comes and says, okay, I'll do, which one? Maybe no haircut allowance. I mean, get an allowance we're going to get that. Or what I'm going to say. So they will guys it up anyhow they want. I think it's important to have that conversation. How many people do we need for this job? How much do we pay for this job? What time frame should the job be executed? And that's the way you have a proper rational conversation about saving costs. Otherwise, all these things they are part of the research agenda. We are happy, we like it. You know the reason why these things are useful is because I think the NDC has found a very clever way of trying to suit Ghanaians who have experienced something else in the last before this government took over. So they are just doing it. There's a few little bit, and that's what many Ghanaians want, right? It's symbolic. That is good. But you are asking the higher question: of how do we ensure that this costs are either cost-cutting measures are limited, so legislated or whatever it is. I think that conversation must post it cleverly, pivot cleverly into the rational conversation about optimal size of government.
It's a very important point you made. So instead of just asking for legislation, we should rather have holistic, comprehensive, rational conversation about what size of government we want to run as a country.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
I do appreciate your thoughts on this, Mr. Kojo. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Franklin Kojo is the founding president of Imani Africa. Let's stay a bit further on this. Duncan Amo is executive secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. He's joining us on the telephone as well. Mr. Amo, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred, and thanks for having me.
What's one of the questions that, for instance, the minority is asking about the real value of this directive to seize the allocation of fuel allowances to political appointees? You are vexed in this industry. You've already started doing some maths and putting some figures to it. How much of an impact really will this decision have in terms of the bottom line? How much is saving us or for us as a country?
Alfred, this is quite a significant move by the government. Significant to the extent that some of the least numbers I have seen that some of these public office holders are drawing for fuel monthly will tell you about 833 liters a month, or some 185 gallons a month per one appointee. If you just suppose that with the 6,000 direct appointments that the government does, some of whom are probably board members who may not have executive functions and may not be taking as much coupons or fuel, although they are also given from time to time. You probably are not looking at anything less than 10 million Ghana cedis every single month. These are monies that we throw away in the name of fuel allocations to the president's appointees, sometimes MMD, CEs, ministers, and all of them. Some of them really will take as much as 25,000 cedis a month, 30, 32,000, even 40,000 cedis in fuel allowances monthly. These are significant numbers that I do think that the president would have considered in arriving at this decision to scrap completely the fuel allowances. Alfred, they are not numbers that you could joke with, and I say this advisedly, as a friend was saying not long ago. Even their girlfriends sometimes are getting fuel, free fuel, and so they are significant. They are able to use these coupons and sometimes these allowances to sometimes even get surpluses. And I have said, you go to the Scandinavian or the other advanced developed countries, public officials are not entirely to be pampered as we pamper ours, where the moment you are mentioned as an appointee, you are expecting, a brand new sometimes vehicle or two or three. That vehicle is now being serviced directly by the state. So anytime there's wear and tear or breakdown or is due for servicing or maintenance, the state would have to bear that. Again, we are saying that appointees do not even have money to buy fuel, whereas even in our private life, we would now pay for our own cars, we pay for our own maintenance. We still buy the fuel. And I think that this is one of those measures that would have a cascading effect, even in cabinet decisions or discussions, because if the minister is now having to take money from his pocket to pay for fuel, anytime you and I cry about the rising cost of fuel or petroleum in country, they will join the chorus because they would equally be feeling the heat. The days of pampering President Mahama has indicated this new move is over. And I agree with my brother Franklin Kujo when he says that there should be a legislative backing so that you don't get a succeeding or a successive government coming in to say that, look, what was done was President Mohammed's wish or whims, and they will not go with that. So they will go back to the era where everything has to be free for presidential appointees. I think that we will need to work towards some legislative backing for this to ensure that we don't return to these days. Private individuals are able to fuel their cars. Although they pay for these cars, they take loans to buy the cars, they take loans to maintain them, they are still able to pay for fuel. I don't see how a government appointee suddenly becomes incapable of putting fuel in his own vehicle that he uses to do his rounds or to do his work for which he's being paid for at the end of the day. So I think it's a move in the right direction. I think it is something that the government would need to be commended for. But in saying this, we are also not leaving anything to chance. Most times you are told there's a government directive, salaries of appointees are cut. Whatever happens to those savings, you are never told.
Absolutely, and that's what I was going to come to. How are these savings going to be accounted for, in your view, or how should they be accounted for? And there are recommendations that it should be used for something we can all point to and say, a hospital costing 100 million cedis was built from this particular saving.
That was exactly. I think that is the bit we would be challenging the government to avert its minds to. These are monies that you would have, spent freely. And you're saying that, look, we can do something with the money. So we would want to see that something, that savings made be put in a specific account. If possible, do a public poll. What would you want to see these monies applied to? I'm sure that Ghanaians will tell you their problems, so that when you are able to fix or build monuments with them, future generations can look at these monuments and say, look, when we decided as a government or a state to be prudent with our resources, these were things that we could easily do for ourselves without borrowing. And I think that that will make some practical sense for all of us. We've heard one too many a time people say, okay, yes, government is saying it's cutting allowances, it's cutting this, it's cutting that. But what is the true reflection of those cuts on infrastructure, on development? So we would want to see specifics done with these cuts or the austerity measures that the president has embarked on. Again, you had a situation where previous governments were doing 87 ministers, 100, 120 ministers. You are doing 60 now. If you had done 70, do the possible scenarios at the end of the year. Do these breakdowns. Let us all know how much we have saved, how much probably we could have borrowed that we are not going to borrow because of these savings. What project specific you could point to as an administration to say that when you decided on these austerity measures, these were the specifics that inure to our collective benefit as a people. If we don't see these things, I'm sure with time people will lose confidence in the system whenever it says that, well, tighten your belts, we are tightening ours, we are helping to ensure that whatever wastage and pilfering or profligacy that did exist within the setup or the system, we've eliminated them. And in doing so, not only did we make savings, but we can point to specific projects that have been funded from those savings. Alfred, it is very important we gravitate towards these.
A fantastic point there, and I do appreciate you. We continue this conversation on Ghana Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Duncan.
Thank you for having me.
Duncan Awa is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, in there. But the TUC has been talking about this particular directive from the presidency, cutting or ceasing the allocation of fuel allowance to political appointees. What has the TUC been saying?
They're calling on the president to back this recent decision with legislation. They say making it a law will ensure future governments comply and that public resources are used wisely. Here's Secretary General of TUC, Joshua Ansah, speaking with our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku.
But my problem is that even though it's good for us to save some money from this cancellation, I mean, I'm imagining what will happen to the government appointees. How are they going to work effectively? Maybe this decision is good, but it's going to affect their work. If not, then I think that there should be some measures in place that can assist these people in doing their job. But then, let me be quick to say also that some of the appointees are also living some life that brings suspicion and all those things to the citizenry. So I think the president has realized that, and as he has said, he wants to bring some sanity and discipline in his government. I think that is why he's doing this. So let's see how it goes. Maybe after cancelling the allowances, maybe they will be giving some quota, some coupons, and so that's one they can actually track the usage of the fuel. Yes, otherwise people may also abuse it. So I have the belief that yes, president want to make some savings out of that to be employed in other areas that need funds. But you must also look at the other side of the coin. How this decision will not affect negatively the work of these appointees.
But in this case, so what the president has done, do you think to have impact on the average Ghanaian worker?
I think that if really they make the savings and they use the savings to actually, they apply it in another developmental area, that goes a long way to improve the lives of the citizenry, then I can say that it's a positive sign. But where the savings are made and it doesn't do what is expected, then that one too, then it's better you shouldn't have even done it at all.
TUC General Secretary Joshua Ansah speaking to our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku. Let's do some politics now. 5 members of the opposition New Patriotic Party (NPP) in the Akwatia constituency of the Eastern Region have declared their intentions to contest the primary ahead of the by-election. They are the constituency chairman Yao Ado, his second vice chairman Kwesi Boateng, Mr. Kofi Nyame, lawyer Yao Redu, and the former member of parliament Amase. Images of the wife of Kumi have also popped up as a possible candidate to succeed the husband, but it is yet to be confirmed if she will enter the race. The date for the primary is yet to be set by the regional executives, but reports say these individuals, who are party members, have decided to come out openly to contest. The by-election has been necessitated due to the demise of the Member of Parliament, Ernest Yao Kumi. Well, 3FM has also picked information that Parliament is yet to write officially to the Electoral Commission as demanded by the Constitution to be notified within 7 days of the death of a Member of Parliament. Ernest Kumi died on Monday, July 7, 2025. Now, so let's run you this. What does the Constitution say should happen upon the death of an MP? In Article 112 of the Constitution amended, whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the Clerk of Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after becoming aware that the vacancy has occurred, and a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred, except that where the vacancy occurred through the death of a member, the by-election shall be held within 60 days after the occurrence of the vacancy. Now, Article 114 of the Constitution amended says, Article 114 of the Constitution is repealed and the following inserted. Gratuities for the members of Parliament. A person who has served as a member of Parliament for any period of time shall, on his death or on ceasing to be a member of Parliament in any circumstance other than where he becomes disqualified as a member of Parliament or where he vacates his office under Article 97, Section 1C or D, be eligible for the payment to his personal representatives or to him of such gratuity proportionate to his period of service as shall be determined by the President, acting in consultation with a committee referred to in Article 71 of this Constitution.
Christopher, let's hold a bit there, but let's go on to the telephone lines now. Dr. Rashid Domani is joining us. He's the director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Dr. Rashid Domani, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred.
Now, just hearing of this information that Parliament is yet to notify the Electoral Commission on the death of NHL Kumi, this is contrary to the dictates specified as in Article 112 of the 1992 Constitution. I mean, what you know how Parliament works. What could have led to this delay?
I don't know. I'm surprised to hear this. I mean, perhaps maybe a few possibilities. I mean, either communication got buried somewhere or got misplaced. One of government has always done its work. So I'm really surprised, I mean, to learn about this. And if indeed that is the case, I mean, somebody must answer, because, we all agreed to the rules, and the Constitution has dictated what needs to be done. And the last group that should be breaking the Constitution, I mean, disobeying the Constitution, should be people in Parliament. And I know the clerk and all the people behind him are most of them are lawyers. So it comes to me as a huge surprise.
See, and there are others who are also, trying to put some meaning to it, that it could just be because the Speaker is out of the jurisdiction. Maybe there's a certain agreement to have him come back and he officially informed before any such directive.
No. Alfred, I think if Speaker is not here, I think the process is parliamentary. I mean, Parliament continues to sit. There's a first deputy, there's a second deputy. I mean, the administration of Parliament is in place. I've seen many times when the Speaker is out of the country but continues to issue directives. I mean, even recalling Parliament and so on and so forth. I mean, signing under his name. So his absence from the jurisdiction, I believe, does not change very much.
I see. But then what would be your expectation ordinarily going forward about a particular development like this, and what the leadership of Parliament should be seen doing in response to at least the concerns you have just raised?
Alfred, I mean, the past, I mean, a number of vacancies have occurred, and in all instances, I think Parliament has not failed to do its job. So really, this time around, whatever happened, and we have this disconnect, I think it's important that maybe Parliament corrective measures are put in place. I mean, if somebody is left at the job, let them sanction the consequences, or at least they don't have very few. Somebody can go to court, and that's just it's embarrassing. Parliament to maybe assuming, the other aspect that we shouldn't forget is perhaps Parliament has done its work, and the letter hasn't gotten to the Electoral Commission, or somebody at the Electoral Commission has not done his or her job. So I think there are two sides to it.
That's so a possible audit of the process to know exactly where the disconnect is should be the way forward.
Indeed.
I do appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Rashid Domani is director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs.
Now, suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu has filed a fresh action at the High Court seeking a declaration that Shining Stars does not exist in law. The organization is behind one of the petitions seeking the removal of the Chief Justice. Lawyers for the Chief Justice say there are no records showing the existence of any such organization. Now, let me walk you through the reliefs she's seeking from the courts. She's seeking a declaration that the Shining Stars of Ghana does not exist in law or fact. She's also seeking a a declaration that the petition to the president allegedly authored by Shining Stars of Ghana is void on account of the fact that the Shining Stars of Ghana does not exist in law or fact. She's also seeking a declaration that purported prima facie determination in respect of petition by Shining Stars of Ghana is null, void, and of no effect. And finally, she's seeking an order to bring up into this court for the purpose of quashing and accordingly quashing the purported prima facie determination or finding made by the president in consultation with the Council of States. Minister in charge of government communication Felix Kwachiofosu, during an emergency media briefing, responded to the Chief Justice in relation to Shining Star after she raised the issue at a news conference. Take a listen.
First of all, I'm not sure whether there are provisions covering this, whether there's a requirement for authenticity, as it were. There are also individuals. How do you authenticate the individuals? What matters is that they have raised issues, and the Chief Justice was given opportunity by the President and the Council of State to provide initial responses, which then form the basis of the determination of a prima facie. The President, in consultation with the Council of State, came to the conclusion that there was a basis to proceed further. The President then, in accordance with Article 1466, I believe, set up the committee as spelled out by the Constitution and gave them the petitions to look into. The processes have been ongoing for quite some time now. So as far as the President is concerned, every law, rule, or regulation or process that has to be adhered to has been respected. So I do not know how this particular matter in any way impinges on the integrity of the process that has gone on so far. But then again, the Chief Justice has had cause at least on 5 occasions. The Chief Justice and others, I must indicate, have had cause at least on 5 occasions to go to the Supreme Court to seek redress in the matter. And on all occasions, the Supreme Court has upheld the process as is currently underway. And so that, for me, should resolve the issue beyond any reasonable doubt.
That was Felix Kwachiofosu, Minister in charge of government communications. Meanwhile, lawyers for the embattled Chief Justice have today urged an Accra High Court for an expedited hearing. This is the case in which she's hoping to stop the 5-member committee from probing the petition seeking her removal from office. The lawyers also told the court they can only appear on Wednesdays and Fridays because of the committee's proceedings. They therefore asked for the hearings to be handled expeditiously. The court has meanwhile set July 23 to hear legal arguments whether the Attorney General's request for the case filed by the Chief Justice should be dismissed. Former Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya East, Mavis Hawa-Kumsin, has defended her use of pepper spray during the chaotic parliamentary rerun in the Ablekuma North constituency last Friday, insisting it was an act of self-defense. The election, held on Friday, July 11, descended into confusion after a group of unidentified men reportedly overpowered police officers at the St. Peter's Methodist Church polling station and attacked several people, including the former Fisheries Minister. Viral videos captured the moment Hawa-Kumsin reached for a canister, later confirmed to be a pepper spray, and deployed it as a group of men advanced toward her. Speaking for the first time since the incident in an interview on Tuesday, July 15, Hawa-Kumsin rejected claims that she went to the polling center with the intention of causing mayhem.
Well, some 10 minutes of the hour, 6 p.m. Stay with us. We're back shortly with the latest in the world of business. Big Smack Awusa is standing by after this quick break.
Always busy on the go. Tap the app, you're good to go. Big dreams, little time. There's a boat for you to ride.
mixture and Koa MT are not recommended for men lactating children under 12 years. Always take a malaria test before using Koa MT mixture. Choose Koa mixture, Koa plus mixture, and Koa.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana tightens oversight on 5 banks falling behind recapitalization targets despite sector-wide gains. Post-debt exchange program will bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC Ghana, says government's decision to scrap fuel allowances for political appointees could save the country over 120 million cedis annually. The chamber describes the move as commendable, noting it will help the government redirect funds to critical sectors of the economy. There is more in the following Newsdesk report.
President John Dramani Mahama earlier on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, announced the cancellation of fuel allowances and fuel allocations to all political appointees with immediate effect. The directive, according to the government statement, forms part of a broader cost-cutting strategy under the Mahama administration's reset agenda aimed at reducing public spending and refocusing resources on priority sectors and essential national development needs. COPEC says the move will significantly cut wasteful expenditure and ease pressure on the public purse.
This would lead to some good savings. Our initial projections put the figures at beyond 10 million Ghana cedis monthly. If the government can have a specific account into which these funds are lodged, so that specific projects could be funded from that, I think that the current generation, the future generations to come, would see what prudent management of public resources could lead to.
The chamber is also urging government to consider long-term solutions to reduce its transport-related costs.
One thing that we want Mr. President to consider, we have heard the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions suggest that they would forthwith be importing only electric vehicles and solar-powered vehicles. That would be a good departure from the Land Cruiser regime that guzzles a lot of fuel. And so, Mr. President, as you are cancelling fuel allowances, also cancel the V8 economy.
And that was a report on the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC Ghana, projecting Ghana is set to save 120 million cedis annually from the cancellation of fuel allowances for government officials. Moving on, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has cautioned Ghanaians to ignore projections from black market currency operators, urging the public to rely on official Bank of Ghana data. He says the cedi has appreciated by more than 42% so far this year, recovering sharply from previous years of instability. Speaking at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting in Accra, Dr. Isiama credited the gains to sound monetary policy, growing investor confidence, and a strong external position.
It appears in Ghana the way we form our expectations when it comes to the exchange rate is to listen to the Zamana man, is to listen to the Alaji in the corner. And I think that's where the problem is. If you have a country whose trade surplus has doubled compared to last year, if you have a country whose current account has increased from a mere $66 million last year to over 2 billion in the first quarter of this year. Why are you surprised when the exchange rate is showing stability? And so my point is, please look at the data, the media. Focus on the data. When you are forming your projections about the exchange rate or whatever variable, look at the data. It's all there.
And that was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, ending the business news on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ahusa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Oreku Ampofo is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. We do start off from the Western region, where President John Mahama has announced that 6 new stadia will be built in the newly created regions. He made this declaration in the Western region as part of his thank you tour.
Modern sports stadia are to be built for the 6 new regions and other regions that do not have them. As I speak, the Minister of Sports and Recreation is overseeing the design of modern sports stadia for the 6 new regions and the regions that don't have them. And so Western North is going to receive a modern sports stadium.
And so that was President John Mahama speaking there. Let's do some more stories here as we head to Morocco for the Women's AFCON, which is currently ongoing. And the team, that's the Black Queens, have advanced to the quarterfinals after beating Tanzania by 4-1 on Monday. After the victory, Ghana's ambassador to Morocco, Honorable Charity Gbedao, reviewed that the sports ministry has resolved all financial issues pertaining to the Black Queens.
You know, I told you earlier that we are having some challenges with regard to their finance and things. But the Minister for Sports quickly intervened and dispatched the accounting officer to come and sort them out. So it also boosted their morale, you know, with the little support that the embassy also gave. So we are not surprised. We are grateful to God.
And so that was the ambassador of Ghana to Morocco, that's Charity Gbedao, speaking there. Now, before we wrap up, we still stay on the Black Queens because ahead of the crown tie against Algeria in the quarterfinals of the competition, Black Queens forward Evelyn Bedu says that the team is ready for whatever challenge that they would face on Saturday against their northern counterparts.
I feel like it's gonna be like the energy will be more than this one because now we're the top 8 and we know